Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our May Tech Talk, which is titled Spring Cleaning for Google Drive, Cleaning Up Your Virtual Closet. My name is Jamie Trujillo, and I will be moderating today's webinar. I'm also going to moderate the chat. So if you haven't already, please make sure to put your name and your program name into the chat so that we can give you credit for attending the webinar for today. So if you cannot access the chat, please make sure to email me at jamie@nmdelt.org and I can give you credit for attending live. With that, I will turn it over to Terry.
Hi, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate your continuing support. So spring has sprung, and I thought it'd be a good idea to do a spring cleaning for Google Drive webinar, cleaning up your virtual closet. We have a special guest today, Cash Clifton, who's going to chime in with his Cash In segment, and we'll get going. The learning objectives in this webinar are to tell you all about your Google storage and what eats it up, the Drive, the photos, and Gmail. How to organize your files and folders so you can find them a little better in your Google Drive and Google Classroom. And I'm going to offer a couple tips, and then we're going to talk about how useful this is for your students. So, our Google storage. Your storage is shared across your Google Drive, your photos, and your Gmail. That's what most of the storage is eating up. If we look at your storage summary, and you can go to google.com/settings/storage, you can get a quick look at what exactly is inside your drive. We'll tell you how many gigabytes you've stored in there, your Gmail, and your Google Photos. So you can see exactly where your storage is getting eat up. If you're lucky enough to have a G Suite for Education account with NMDelt, you'll get this little message that you have unlimited storage, which is really great, but just in case you need to watch your storage. How do we clean up our Google Drive? Well, there's 4 easy ways to clean up your Google Drive. Number 1, find large files on your Google Drive. So how do we do this? In order to find large files, you can go and type in your search bar drive.google.com/drive/quota, and you will get a list of all your files in your drive. The list file is from largest to smallest, so you can see what's really eating up your file. And if there's something that's really large that you're not using anymore, you can go ahead and take it to the trash. Another quick way to kind of like watch your storage and help it is to remove hidden data from apps in your Google Drive. This is another simple thing. You just type in drive.google.com. You hit the little sprocket up here, which will get you to settings. From settings, you're going to click Manage Apps. And you're going to make sure that this little checkbox here is checked to convert upload files to Google Docs. And we will talk about that a little later. But after you click Manage Apps, you're going to see all the apps that are using any storage in your Google Drive. If you scroll down underneath the description, some of them will show that they have hidden app data, like this read write for Google Chrome. If you want to get rid of that data, you click Options and then Delete Hidden App Data. There's a lot of hidden app data that you don't necessarily know about in your drive. Also, we can store files that use no storage allocation. For those of us not lucky enough to have an unlimited drive, what we can do is we can go up to the quota again, go to Settings, and then make sure that it converts anything that we are putting in there into Google Docs, which won't use any storage. So if you have any PDFs, they are probably taking up a lot of room. Any kind of things that are even like instead of having a slide, you have an Excel, that's taking up a lot of room. So for example, a PowerPoint presentation is usually about 43 megabytes. If you convert it to slides, then you're going to use up 0 megabytes of your storage. And last but not least, we want to clear any duplicate files. If you are using the G Suite for Education account, you want to do the duplicate file finder cleaner for Drive. And this is in Drive File Stream, which you can find in your Google Chrome store up here. And what that will do, it will go around and it will find all your duplicate files. And then you can go ahead and delete the duplicate files. Ah, time for Spring Cleaning Fun Fact 1. The average woman cleans for 12,896 hours in her lifetime, and men, an average of 6,448. Do you agree with that? What do you think about that, everybody out there? Let's put a thumbs up in the chat if you think that that is a reasonable amount or not. That's almost half the men clean. So, Jamie, if we get any little replies, please let me know. Let's see
Yes,
if
I'll
we have.
definitely take a look at the chat. Let us know what you think.
Do you agree or do you not?
Carl says, thanks for the guilt trip.
Oh, well, there's always exceptions to the rule.
Of
I thought that was
course.
a fun fact. So, for your fun cleaning fact, okay, one thing that we want to know, have to know how to do is we might put something in the trash, but it's still there and taking up storage until we empty it. So, what happens when we put something in the trash? Well, if it's a document you own, people you shared it with can still make a copy. If you didn't own the doc, then removing the doc only removes it for you. Um, what's the difference between that and permanently delete? Anyone you shared that file with will lose access if you permanently delete it, unless you transfer ownership to someone else. How do we take it to the trash? We go and click on the file that we want to remove, number one, and then we click remove here. That will take it to your trash. To permanently delete it, though, we want to click on that, and we want to go to our trash, actually, find that file in our trash, click on it once, and then right-click it and say delete forever. So make sure that after you think you've cleaned it all up, that you take out your trash. There's a lot of storage that gets used up by Google Photos or any photos that you put in there. So there's some simple ways where you can decrease the size of your storage used. One way is to make sure you have high quality instead of original size uploads. To do this, we can go to photos.google.com. And what we'll see is something similar to this. What you should have checked is not original, but high quality, because that will actually take up more space, or less space, I'm sorry. Oh, and I have a little message from Emily in there. Hi, Emily. So you want to make sure you've checked that box, high quality. It will take up less storage for you. Gmail. Every Gmail or email on your Gmail account takes up space. I don't know about you, but it takes me hundreds and hundreds of pages to clean up my Gmail. One quick way that maybe we can clean up our Gmail is to start learning how to use the Gmail Advanced Search. And so when you click that little drop down arrow where Gmail is in the search, what you'll get is different ways you can filter your results. So maybe one suggestion would be to filter it by size. Anything greater than 5 megabytes that has an attachment, maybe you want to click that and search, and it'll bring up all your emails that are greater than 5 megabytes and that have attachments. Another thing we can do is type into the search bar or change our megabytes down here to greater than 20 megabytes, because that's pretty big. Make sure you click the has attachment, and we'll bring up all your emails that are huge and over 20 megabytes. The search has gotten really good when it comes to our Gmail. We can even type in emails that are sent over a year ago. So we would just go to our search, type in sent over a year ago, and it will search that and give you all your emails that were sent over a year ago. So I was really surprised that I had these 3 down here that I blurred out, because I thought I had wiped the whole thing out. Remember, if you put it in your trash, to permanently delete it, though, or it's still going to remain there. It's time for spring cleaning fun fact number 2. February the 12th is National Clean Out Your Computer Day. Well, it's not quite in the spring, but February, we'll take it. So that is a fact. All right, once we've cleaned things out a little bit, or maybe we want to organize our files and folders so we can find them easier. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can organize them in your Google Drive, and then we'll give you some tips for organizing it in your Google Classroom. One way we can do it is to choose the order. Do we want it alphabetical? Do we want it number? Do we want it most recent? So there's a little drop down where you can search it alphabetically by number and most recent. Numbers are always going to appear before alphabetical. So that's a little tip that we're going to talk about in your classroom, so you can find things faster and find your masters. Just like your email, we can add stars. Problem is, if you're adding too many stars, you're going to get really lost because everything will be starred. To do this, we right click on our folder and we just go, and we'll see that little selection there that says add star. Another thing that we can do is to rename it. Maybe you want to rename it by number so it comes up first. So always kind of, especially in classroom, we want to rename it like 01. It's always going to bring the first one up before it brings the alphabetical one up. So to do this, you do the same as you would if you start it. You have your new folder, you right click on it, and there you are. You have your selection of add to start, rename, and change color and all kinds of fun things. This is a very interesting little site. It's called Copy Paste Character. And I'm going to click on that just for a minute, hopefully. And you'll be able to see what that site looks like. And so if you're in this site, if you're really artistic, you can use one of these characters on your folder as part of the naming of it. So you would rename your folder and you would insert one of these little characters before it. So maybe your music would have the little musician thing. And so this is a fun way in classroom kind of to organize your folders and files also. You hear that? I think it's time to cash in. Buzz, buzz, buzz.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Terry.
And here he comes. I'm going to turn it over to Cash and ask Cash that famous question. What would Cash do?
What would Cash do?
What would
All
Cash
right.
do?
Let's see. Jamie, am I presenting? Okay, there we go. Now you can see my screen. So I'm going to talk to you about organizing your Google Drive in a way that can maximize the search bar. So as far as what would Cash do on this one, organizing my drive is definitely not a strength of mine. So I'm going to talk to you about some things I do, though. So I focus more on the name for my files, and we're going to talk about what some of the standard formats are, and then you can use the search function within Gmail and Drive if the files are appropriately named. So to be perfectly honest, my drive is a bit of a mess. Like I said, I use the search feature to get around things. If you want to see an idea of what a standout organized drive is, I encourage you to check out Emily's presentation, Fast, Flexible, and User-Friendly, How Clovis Digitized Our HSE Curriculum. So that is part of the 2019 virtual conference, and that is absolutely one of the gold standard I've seen in terms of organization. So today I'm going to be talking to you about guidelines for naming digital files. I pulled some of these from Stanford. So these aren't all of their guidelines. These are just guidelines that I feel are relevant to us in adult education. Feel free to check out Stanford libraries if you want more information. Smithsonian libraries also have some really good guidelines as far as how to name your files to make them easy to search. So they encourage adding some of these things, not necessarily all of them, because you don't want to end up with a file name that's really, really long. So they encourage having the name of your project or an acronym for your project in the name. They suggest having a date range of the project in a standardized format. So choose one of those formats in terms of month, day, and year to help with your searching a little bit about there. They suggest having some kind of reference to the type of data or information in the file name, a version number of the file. So maybe if you do a rough draft as opposed to the final version of the file, although I'm not sure how relevant that is since Google Drive can track the version histories now. They encourage you to avoid special characters in the actual file name. Now, I know Terry was just talking about special characters, and I think those are great for folder names to keep track of things. It is encouraged that you don't actually name files with these things, especially if you have to leave Google. That can get you an error if you're trying to convert things to other programs. When you're using sequential numbering, they suggest you use lead 0. So if you're going to use 3 digits, start with 001. If you start with 4 digits, you would want 0001. Spaces are not suggested, as a lot of software won't recognize spaces. Again, all this is fine if you stay within Google, but if you download, want to open in Acrobat, Word, those kinds of things, sometimes spaces can be an issue. So one thing they suggest is to use underscore, so file underscore name. Let's see, dashes can be a great one. File dash name, just no separation, file name, no spaces. And then I learned, let's see, let me hide this little bar here. I learned a new term this week called caramel case, which is where you title the name of each letter in the file name. And for me personally, that is a little bit easier to read. So those are some guidelines I suggest for you to help maximize your searches. Again, please check out Stanford Libraries or Smithsonian Libraries if you would like more information. And I will turn it back over to Terry.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I actually have a question. Is it better to use an underscore? Or I know a lot of people use periods. Is one more advantageous than the other?
You know, I'm thinking way back to like Windows 95, Windows 98 days. I think there were issues with periods, which is why I assume it's not listed in here. As far as I know, in 2019, periods are fine. See, I think it would be fine to do file.name, something like that. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Cash. I always love your Cash In segments. You give us a lot of information.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for the
No
invitation.
problem. All right, we have our Google Classroom. And with the creation Google Classroom folder, it's helpful when creating copies that you might want to call master files. And what I mean by master files is the original doc and sheet or slide that you're using for an assignment, for example. One of the problems is how to organize them. And one solution to the problem is to make a folder. This is not the only solution, but this is one solution that might keep you a little bit more organized. The top here, you want to name units using numbers in front of important folders, and it helps keep them on top. Then under each of these units, you're going to create a subfolder for each unit and change the naming system slightly by adding a period, or like Cash said, an underscore and a lesson number. So you'd have unit 1, and then you have your lesson number and an underscore, and name it per lesson number under that unit. Inside your Google Classroom, it's great now that they have the whole topic thing, because you can match the topics you create with your unit folder names in Google Drive. So I kind of did a quick demo classroom in my Google Classroom to see if I could figure out how this worked. And so here you're seeing my demo classroom. And if you look at my classwork, I have each of the topics or each unit. So unit 1, spring cleaning your drive, would be the first topic. Unit 2, spring cleaning your Google Photos, would be the second. And then unit 3 would be all about spring cleaning your Gmail. So under each of these would be unit 1 and lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. So whatever it is you're going to put in there, whether it be a picture, an assignment, a lesson, you want to make sure you start it with whatever the unit number is, followed by whatever your lesson number is. So that is one way to organize that. And then when you go to your Google Drive folder, it might look a little bit better and more organized, and you'll be able to see your masters easier. It automatically creates this fold templates. Do not edit of your masters. So as long as you don't touch that, you're good to go. So I can open that up and I can see the 3 lessons I put in there for my first unit. So getting back to our slides here, I hope you found that helpful. Oh, it's time for spring cleaning fact 3. This was quite astonishing. Computer keyboards can have 200 times more bacteria than a toilet seat. So, set a disinfectant on your desk and wipe that keyboard before you use it and after you are done for the day. And I'm certainly going to follow that one myself.
Terry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the same true of our cell phones, I wonder?
Oh, I am sure it's probably even more times more bacteria with the cell
Okay,
phone. Yes.
sure.
So you have to be. I know that I've worked in computer labs and things and I don't know about you, but people, they just get crumbs and hairs and all kinds of things in their keyboards. So make sure that if you're using a keyboard, you're carrying some sort of wipes with you to disinfect that thing, especially with the stuff that's going around lately. um, all right, so we're down near the end. We're going to talk about some really cool tips that I've just learned how to use, and they are Shift plus Z and Force Make a Copy. So, what if we want to save files in multiple folders, but we want to make sure that if we edit them, it reflects in the file that we're sharing it with? There's something called Shift plus C. So, what you want to do is you'll go to your file that you want to copy and move into another, and you'll right click it and you'll do a Shift on your keyboard plus C. And what that will do is bring up a menu that will allow you to navigate to where you want to move it. The really cool thing about this is that whatever you're going to do to your original is going to reflect in theirs. So if you want something like attendance and you want it to reflect, and be up to date all the time, you want to do a Shift plus C, because just moving it into their folders doesn't necessarily give them permissions or rights or anything like that. And they won't see anything that you've edited necessarily. Another thing, and this can be really handy if you're sending out an email or if you're in a classroom and you just want to make sure that they just get a copy of it. That way they can save a copy and do what they want with it. You can force make a copy. So this is simple to do. You just figure out what your URL is for the file that you want to copy, and you're going to change the ending of it to a /copy. You're just going to add /copy at the end. And so when they go to open it up, it's going to force them to make a copy so it doesn't mess up your original copy. So this is really cool. And that way you don't have to deal with the permissions and the rights. And so for students, applied digital skills. It's really important that students be taught how to organize their files. So you really have to learn how to organize your files so you can teach your students how to organize their files. There's a fantastic program out there, and those of you who use G Suite for Education, is a real simple free program called Applied Digital Skills, and it's offered through G Suite for Education. And it can teach your students how to organize files in Drive. So you can learn how to use Google Drive to store, access, and share files such as documents, presentation, forms, and photos in one central place. This would even be good for me because I can't say I know everything about organizing my files. So I have a link here so we can get a look at what this class looks like. And this is just one section of this class. So it's kind of like my webinar here, where it kind of broke it up into introduction, organizing files in Drive, how to create folders, how to change the colors of them, how to move them around and rename them and delete them, how to upload files to Drive to save storage, how to set and change sharing permissions. So this is everything you need in order to be organized. The time to complete is 45 to 90 minutes, so you don't have to do anything. Just put your student on here. There's assignments that they can use. You can filter it by, well, they have suitable for late elementary, high school. But in addition to this, if you haven't checked out the Applied Digital Skills curriculum, it is amazing. So we can browse the different kind of things that they have to offer. They have an online safety and digital well-being. They have a G Suite certification exam prep. And then if you scroll down here, we can look at researching and developing topics, anything that is applied digital skills, technology, ethics, securities, planning an event. And you can see down here, we will have the organization lesson down here too. So it's a fun way to learn your applied digital skills. Here's equal access to technology. You want to make sure you have digital equity, how to create presentations, create a resume, organize college information. So they have just really added to this. And here's our organized files and drives. So they just need an NM account. They go to the Google, type in applied digital skills up here in the search, and they can get these fantastic things. And there's some things that teachers can actually check out if they're not that knowledgeable right away. Create quizzes in Google Forms is a good one, and so on and so on. So it's amazing the amount of stuff that they have in here that can help you with your applied digital skills. So I'm definitely going to check that out myself. And that brings us to the end. And I'd like to thank you for all your support throughout the year. And I hope you can continue to watch the webinars or watch the recordings. If you have anything you would like to talk about or request, please email me at terry@nmdelt.org. If you'd like to request DELT support, I've offered some links here too for training and to get assistance. We are always here and willing and happy to help you. And I'd like to give a special thank you again to Cash for joining us. Here are some of our resources where you can keep up with what we're doing: our website, Facebook, Blogger, Instagram, and Twitter. And thank you again. And Jamie, were there any questions we had that came up?
We don't have any questions just yet. If you want to, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, or even if you have comments, we'll stay on for another few seconds. I know there's a little bit of a delay. So yeah, please feel free to type in any questions or comments. And of course, you can always check us out at our website. You can email Terry, and we can continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Terry, for a wonderful presentation as always.
Thank you. I couldn't do it without you and Cash. And if we can't get to your question, we will sure email a response.
Absolutely. We haven't gotten anything. Oh, go ahead, Cash. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do have a couple of thoughts I'd like to add that came to my mind as I was listening. So the that Shift Z command, that's really cool, Terry.
It's instead of moving it all around and getting lost, you just Shift Z and navigate to where you want it.
So one comment I have, so it's Shift Z if you're working on a PC. If you're working on an Apple, that is going to be Command Z.
That
so
is
Command
excellent.
Z if you're on an Apple. And then one other thing I wanted to comment. So when you delete things forever, if you're in your NM Delt drive, they're not truly deleted forever for about 60 days. So if you do ever delete something from your trash and then you change your mind and you want it back, sometimes we can recover it within 60 days. So if that does ever happen, the sooner you can get in contact with us, the better.
I'm sure that's happened to everyone at some point where I've had to restore something. I didn't delete. So thanks for that advice.
Thank you very much. And Nancy actually did have a question. She asks, is there a way to clean out emails without cleaning out the folders?
The folders in your email, or if you're putting things to say, saving emails in specific folders, you can search just by the email. I don't know well, you go to your folder and do the advanced search through there, and it wouldn't really get your, delete your folder, would just delete the emails you wanted to inside that.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you were asking, Nancy. Because usually you're creating a folder to save something in. So, or unless you're looking in your sent folder, you would do it the same way. You go to your sent and then go to your advanced search from there and delete all the stuff in that sent folder anyway. So they have some that are already there, some that you might have made. Just go to the specific folder and then go to the advanced search.
Thank you, Terry. That's all we have for questions.
Oh.
And we did have some thank yous. Some thank yous. You know, a lot of people learned a lot. So that's very awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys again, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.